Did you pass those out? Was that the whole package?
Morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Morning, my name's Chris Caius. I am chairman of the Administration Committee at Kane County, and I'm calling this Administration Committee agenda to order at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, July 12th, students,
All right.
23. Okay,
And that's.
do we have roll call, please?
Berman,
Davis?
Davis here.
Ford, Gums,
Gums remote.
Young, Juby,
Over here.
Caius.
No. it's not
Guys
here.
present.
You have a quorum?
Okay, we have a quorum here, and without objection, Madam Gums has requested and will be allowed into the meeting as a voting member, since we have a quorum present here. All right. So roll call requests. May I have I would entertain a request to accept the minutes from June 14th, 2023 from a member of the committee. Juby says,
So moved.
It's confirmed to be accepted.
No, I wasn't.
No?
I was asking for a roll call vote.
Well, darn.
without objection, make it so. We've adopted the minutes.
I was actually calling for a roll call vote.
I'll
please.
second the motion.
You don't need to. It's a unanimous consent for a request.
We don't know.
No, it wasn't. I
Was
was
it?
calling
Oh,
for
you
a
want it that
roll-
way?
I want a
Oh,
roll
oh,
call
Oh,
vote.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Serious?
She's not here. Okay.
We're serious.
And I have a motion and a second. Juby and
And Berman.
Berman. All in, roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes,
Davis,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Juby,
Maybe I.
Caius.
Guys, yes. Is there any public comment? Anyone in person, online? Hearing none? Our monthly financial report is usually on file, so see the attached. And then we'll go right to number 7, Facilities Master Plan Update with Jason Dwyer, White and Company. I don't know, we'll go right to you then.
Great,
Good
thank
morning.
you. Good morning, everyone. Jason Dwyer with White and Company. So just a verbal update for you today. Probably exhausted everybody at the last committee of the whole meeting with all the stuff we've been talking about, but just kind of quick status on where we're at. It was good to kind of get a chance to share with the whole board sort of status on project planning. We got some really good feedback at that meeting. We're doing a lot of detailed work now. I think some of the comments were, need a little bit more information on pricing details. So that's the work that we're working on right now. Also through the process, there's a couple loose ends. We've been talking in some more detail about some of the satellite facilities, even things like with the health department, what's the best location for a centralized facility. So that's the work that our team's working on right now. But one of the things that I was thinking about coming out of the committee of the whole is it was a lot of information. I understand a lot to try to digest in one meeting. We kind of ran out of time, I think, to have any real meaningful question and answer and discussion about the different options. So we are thinking it may be worthwhile to do another more intensive session similar to what we did back in April on the visioning session, where we can have a little more interactive session, hopefully answer a lot more questions from the group. At that time, we'd be able to provide order of magnitude pricing for the different projects, maybe even talking about funding scenarios and that, so that the whole of the board has more opportunity to ask questions and be even more engaged in the overall planning process. So what we're thinking about, and again, up to the board's discretion here, but looking at maybe the same time as the next administrative committee meeting, which is August 9th, maybe doing a session in the afternoon. That's kind of how we handled it for the visioning session previously. But maybe on that same day, we could do a workshop in the afternoon where we can spend a little bit more time together and dig into some more of the details. So I think there's a couple details to follow. We've considered whether we might want to break that into 2 components, because the work of the judiciary is a little bit different than the scenarios we're looking at for government options. But I think those are things we can kind of fine tune before that date. But that would be our recommendation. I got a sense that many of the board members had more that they wanted to contribute, and we just ran out of time at the committee of the whole meeting. So that's sort of where we're at. Big picture, our objective is to complete this work in September, with a target toward adopting a master plan at your board meeting in October. So timing wise, if we continue to do our work and add more detail to the scenarios and costs and all that, if we had a really good session on August 9th, we'd still have the opportunity to have another follow-up at the committee of the whole at the end of August. And that keeps us on track for our timeline. So that's our suggestion, just kind of based on the feedback we got from the last meeting. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about that or have any discussion about that if you'd like.
Okay, any questions for Jason? I think I've already got on my calendar, so
Perfect.
as of yet, that is an open afternoon.
So August 9th for admin meeting or for the entire board meeting?
Well, we can work that out, whether it be a Cal meeting.
Well, it just makes a difference because it's Wednesday versus Tuesday. I thought we tried to keep all the CAL meetings on Tuesday.
I don't.
And I don't care. I just need to get it in my
I
calendar.
don't think it, yeah, I think,
Doesn't
I don't
matter?
think it makes any
Okay.
difference what day it's on of the week anyway.
Okay, that's fine. I just.
Our official one that we have scheduled annually per month is on a Tuesday, but
So, Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
this is Roger. So we would be looking for the venue for where to host it. That might have something to do with which day we
Availability.
pick, but that's something that Heidi's working on right now.
Okay,
And we'll firm up the date, and make sure we communicate, what we're looking at before we secure all the
So
event venues.
save the date for right now anyway.
Yeah.
And we'll firm up the details.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jason at this point? Mr. Dwyer, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
That was fast, boy. Didn't make you sit around for an hour. You had to work from the office. It's raining outside anyway. Cancel all the baseball games. Gee. Fun at all. Okay, thank you. Then I'll go right to Executive Director's Report. Roger Fonsock.
So we don't have a formal report for today. We're at month 7 out of the fiscal year. We'll be doing an update at 3/4 of the year with 9 months complete. And we're also going to save some of our time for the discussion about the ordinance that's later in the agenda. One of the things that I did want to bring to everyone's attention, if they haven't been aware of it, is that we are dealing with some cooling issues in the county sheriff's office and in the jail. We're working through those. Henry Thompson and Matt Walker, the maintenance director, has been there pretty much regularly trying to work with the current systems. We have parts and equipment that's on order. There's certain lead times in the industry right now for commercial equipment. Most of the equipment is scheduled to be here either by the end of this week or early next week. And they'll be doing the repairs at the office side to get that back operational for now. The jail side, they've managed to get those repaired in place, and there's some at least one compressor that they're going to replace in the jail portion of it. But in total, I think there's 4 compressors that we have to replace, and this has happened all in the course of about a week or two. So it's difficult. The building was built between 2007 and 2008. And all the commercial air conditioning equipment in that building, most of it is original. So it's over 15 years old. And there's a lot of lead time in the industry for commercial equipment right now. And we're getting together a plan to try and do proactive, like preemptive replacement of the aging equipment. We're looking to see how that'll fit into a plan with obviously the occupancy of the jail and with the sheriff and their needs and security. And there's a lot to be planned for. It's not something that you can just do. So we're going to be working through that hopefully in the coming weeks. We're meeting this afternoon and tomorrow to discuss it with a couple contractors. In the interim, the building management team, they brought in temporary cooling, and that's designed to get kind of nominal temperatures in the office down to reasonable temperatures. I think what's reasonable is different depending on who you talk to. We're trying to get 75 degrees, which is probably a challenge in some spaces. So that's what we're trying to do. We've been working through the issue as it presents itself. Again, there's lead times, there's planning that has to go into it. I think the sheriff's office with the new equipment will be addressed sometime by the end of next week. They'll have that taken care of. I know operationally, the sheriff has had some challenges. They've been doing some things remotely and rotating people and doing some things to help us accommodate that. But I think this is going to present another discussion where we have to kind of determine how we want to maintain the buildings long-term. In 2022, previous to me, there was a transfer of the maintenance staff from building management to the sheriff's office for their direct supervision. And then there's obviously major mechanical systems in the building that require different skill sets. So we've been sharing that and working with the sheriff, and we have no intention to do otherwise, but we do want to try to delineate, which part we're responsible for, which part they're responsible for, and then ultimately going into this, staffing that appropriately so that we make sure they have people that can deal with the types of problems that they have. And I think it'll be a good or a much better plan than maybe anything they've had in the past. But we need to do that. We need to get through this initial short-term issue, which I think will probably alleviate next week. And then sometime in the next month to 90 days, we have to have a plan for how we're going to go about reworking most of the jail and the sheriff's office over the next 1 to 2 years. And it is a large number. It's a large project. It'll involve a lot of strategy for how you move and manage the population of people and the services that they deliver. So we're not prepared to speak about that, but just to give you an idea of what is going on and what we're looking at and trying to plan for. You'll be hearing more of it. Probably the next step for us is to engage in contract with one of our vendors to develop the plan for the office in one of the towers. And that will tell us a lot about the costs associated with it. And we don't think you can do both towers at the same time. Obviously, you have to have a place to put a few hundred inmates while you're doing these things. We haven't discussed that with the sheriff, and I know he'll have his direction on that, and we'll have to work with him to make sure that we're not, trying to overreach and do too much at one time. So it's going to be kind of a orchestrated event, but it is coming, and it's something that we think is probably going to be unavoidable within the next 2 years. It's just they've been going through the equipment and finding, the equipment is original or 15 years old. And with the lead times, most of the industry and the suppliers are saying that if you don't preemptively order, if you have an issue, you may see weeks to months for lead time. So they're recommending preemptively replacing equipment if it's over 15 years old. So especially if you don't have really good service records for the last 15 years. Again, those are the types of issues that we're dealing with. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The sheriff and the judicial partners, they've been talking about it, how to operationally work around it. We really appreciate their, flexibility. They've been trying to make things work. But again, it's one of those things where with lead times and the types of things that you have to do, and there's nothing quick and easy about it. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. I don't have anything more to report. If you have questions or would like to talk about it afterwards, that would be great. I'm going to save the rest of my time for White and Company. Jason Dwyer's here. He already spoke us, right? And then we have RBO, right? Responsible Bidder Ordinance. Usually comes after me, so.
Got a couple of, yeah. Do you want to add anything, Jason?
He helped, yeah. He's helping us with the air conditioning too.
Yeah,
Usually has more pictures and stuff too.
yeah.
It's like a big
So we're
thing.
moving right along. This is the morning for moving right along. So
Yes.
far. Jinxed that, didn't I? Okay, then we're going on to item 9, building management, which will be Henry Thompson. I may have a motion in a second, which would authorize a contract for Kane County wall finishing and painting services. Moved by
Berman,
second by
Davis.
Davis. And then
Good morning.
Henry's right
It's
over here.
Henry Thompson from Building Management. The first item here is entering into an agreement with Taza Construction and Tiles and Styles. This is a budgeted item in the amount of $100,000, and we're recommending approval.
That was fast. Okay,
200.
Madam Juby?
I just have a quick question. So in Tiles and Style, they're quite a bit more expensive than Midwest Decorating. Is there a reason why we need to go to both? Do we just not, can Midwest Decorating does not handle all the work?
When we have multiple bidders, we try to pick a few bidders because there might be scheduling conflicts.
Okay.
And if there's multiple ones, for example, for HVAC, we had multiple for HVAC and we awarded, so we split it up with zones
Okay.
in the county. So we kind of alter the business, but if one tends to be more expensive than another, then we'll
Well, this
go
one
with
is
we'll go with the,
when we can.
yeah, the one we can.
Okay, because their painter apprentice is more expensive than,
Can you speak in your mic?
I'm
Madam
sorry, the
President?
painter apprentice is more expensive than the journeyman painter in
Right.
Midwest. So,
Yeah, there was a big difference between the two
yeah, so I
contractors.
just want to make sure that we're not. And also, do we ever use them for overtime hours for painting and things like that?
It's not expected, but sometimes in the courthouse,
Have
to work around their schedule, we'll do after hours work.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Thompson? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Juby,
GBI,
Yes,
passes.
motion passes. Item B, may I have a motion and second authorizing a contract extension for Kane County carpet replacement. Moved by Ford, second by
Berman,
Berman.
Yes, the second item here is entering into an agreement with Family Flooring. It is a budgeted item. We're just recommending approval for the extension.
Standard extension of the contract we've had, and we've been satisfied with their services. Okay, roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums. Ms. Gums,
Yes.
Juby,
GBI,
Caius.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, item C, may I have a motion and second for a resolution authorizing to receive grant funding from grant number 21-203121, construction of a multi-use facility at the Kane County Judicial Center campus. Moved by
Berman,
Berman, second by
Davis.
Davis.
This third item here is a little bit different than others. We're receiving funding instead of requesting to spend funding. So we're just recommending that building management receive the funds for $750,000 for the grant reimbursement.
Any question? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Juby,
GBI,
Caius.
Yes.
Passes.
And then item D, final, may I have motion and second to authorizing funding for the state's attorney collaborative diversion build out at the Kane County Branch Court facility. Moved by
Ford.
Gums will move.
second by Gums.
This is fourth item here is to just authorize an agreement for the build out for the state's attorney's office at the Randall Road location, Branch Court. The amount is $486,000 and it is budgeted and we're just recommending approval.
Okay. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Juby,
GBI,
Caius.
Yes. Motion passes. Then on to information technology, Charles Lasky. May I have a motion and a second for a resolution authorizing a continuation of contract with Paymentus Corporation. Moved by
Davis.
Gums will
moves.
move.
Davis. Gums
Gums will
second.
second.
This is Charles Lasky with the IT Department. This is a two-year continuation of a current contract we have. It was bid out several years ago. We're happy with their services. It handles all credit card and payment processing for our CityView system, which is used by KDOT, Health Department, and Development Department. We do not actually pay any of the fees. The fees are added onto the payee, so this is not an expense to the county. But if we were to change systems, we would have an expense to build out new integrations. So we'd like to continue with this company, so we have no additional costs.
Okay. Any questions for Charles? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Juby,
GBI,
Caius.
Yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. We have nothing for the Mill Creek SSA this morning. And
No, sir.
no vehicle transactions. And new business. May I have a motion and a second for an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 3 of the Kane County Code to establish responsible bidder requirements on public works project. Moved by
Gums will move.
Dums, second by Berman. Okay. And I think we have our state's attorney here to back up any questions, if there are questions from the state's attorney. This has been an integrated process. We've worked with both Madam Chair, myself, Transportation Department, Development, or excuse me, Building Management, Jody in Water Management, and over a number of meetings to work out what I think is a policy that fits very well with the structure, the infrastructure here at Kane County. Is there any other comments or questions? Madam Chair?
Yes, and don't forget procurement, purchasing. We worked in.
Oh, and
depth with them
purchasing,
as well,
yes.
as
I should
well,
write this stuff down.
because they'll be handling this.
Right.
And the meetings were highly collaborative. I just want to let everybody know that this is truly customized for Kane County. It is not boilerplate at all. This has been spoken with to each one of the departments at length individually. Each one of the departments made recommendation. They had a chance to review the drafts. They came back several times, sometimes to amend their original considerations of what they needed. So it kept on becoming fine tuned so that everyone would have complete input on this. Every suggestion, thanks to Mr. Ford and Mr. Frank, were reviewed and make sure that they were appropriate for this. They were primarily all accepted and modified so that they would fit into the spirit of the RBO. But it is, none of it was dictated. It was really an organic conversation that I think we had probably, 5 meetings maybe?
At least.
As well as offline conversations as well. So there was a complete free flow of communication, and we ended up with this, which I think is an extraordinary document.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? First, let me check with the committee members. Mr. Berman or, okay. Mr. Davist.
As promised, trying to keep an open mind and objectively view this. I think I've seen a version of this every 2 to 3 years for the last 20 years. And I've always struggled with it. Part of that is just who I am at my core as a small business owner. I can't escape the feeling that we're fixing something that wasn't broken. I have the utmost faith in our staff, in Carl and Tom, Roger, Jody, Karen, people that work here, some of the finest around. I don't think they need what I perceive as some oversight or help doing the job that they've been doing. I think this is the most collaborative effort that I've seen in 20 years for this, document, this ordinance that we have in front of us. I have to give credit to that. But I truly struggle with the need for it and the implications of what else that it means for union versus non-union workers. So I don't know that I can support it, but I do applaud the effort. It's the best one I've seen in 20 years.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Then anybody else on the committee? Then Madam Bates, you had a comment?
I'd like to,
Mike, please.
sorry, Bates here. I'd like to turn to page 61 of the packet, letter, which is where the ordinances or the responsible bidder pages are. Under E, lowest bidder not letter E, number 2, in the event there are no bidders pursuant to the responsible bidder ordinance, Kane County may pursue bidders pursuant to the standard provisions otherwise set out by the Kane County purchasing ordinance. I would like to ask if we could amend that to say that we would work with bidders to help them become responsible bidders, so that we can move forward with them rather than just, going to a non-responsible bidder. That's my,
Was that a, I don't think, no, you can make an emotion. You're not on the committee, so thank you for your comment.
should I ask somebody else to?
Yeah, I would, this is Ford. I would like to look into that because that would be for small businesses, especially minority businesses, that door needs to be opened up. So, we need to look at ways to do that. I don't know if that's the way to do it, or not, but I think that's something we need to look into while we're doing this.
Could you move that?
Gotta explain exactly what it.
Madam Chair. Or
So it's clarified, everything under $30,000 can be bid out by any of our department heads. So small minority businesses, independent individuals, all fine. I hesitate, and I appreciate Ms. Bates's reflection on wanting to encourage people to become responsible bidders. That is really in support of diversity, and some people choose not to for whatever reason. Some people choose to responsible bidder. But remember, what we're asking for as part of this contract is the fact that they have insurance, that they pay prevailing wage, which is, I think, is important, very important. Insurance is critical. We have to make sure that they have the OSHA training and that they have apprenticeship training. Now, the apprenticeship training does not necessarily have to be at a union apprenticeship school, but anybody can certainly join that if they so choose. I believe that it's pay like a tuition that you can attend this, but there's other opportunities as well, as long as they are sanctioned by the National Labor Board. So Joliet College, Northern Illinois University, Wabansie, ECC are all sanctioned by the Illinois State Labor Board as potential training programs. So in no way does this prevent anybody who's a small business from obtaining one of these contracts, but we don't want somebody coming in and doing a job who is not authorized and is not trained appropriately, and make sure that they are paying our local prevailing wage, which is critical.
And can I just, I'm going to ask one more time. You are suggesting in section E,
Under section E,
item number 2?
maybe amending number 2 or adding a number 3 that would say if there are no bidders, in the event that there are no bidders pursuant to the responsible bidder ordinance, Kane County may pursue bidders pursuant to the standard provisions otherwise set out by the Kane County Purchasing Ordinance, or work with local bidders to help them achieve responsible bidder status.
Okay, I see, and that's what you understand it to be, Mr. Ford?
It is, but yeah, this is Ford again. So the insurance part is no big deal. I mean, every contractor, subcontractor I know gets the proper insurance.
Is no other insurance here. Doesn't speak to insurance.
Yeah, but that was what was brought up. But
What was brought up? I'm sorry.
about insurance, about people having.
Well, I don't want to get too far from what we're discussing here.
I
I
know.
don't want to go this,
I'm-
I don't want this into a detailed discussion of things that are not involved. You're talking about section E, item number 2.
Okay,
Mhm.
So that, I see the state's attorney has his hand up. My first impression is that it refers back to, or go ahead. And
I guess what I would say in regards, and Frank, at SAO office, I guess what I would say is if the amendment is being proposed, that would essentially add to it, I don't think we'd have an issue. The reason that E2 is essentially been placed in there is to avoid the county being put in a rock and a hard place where you don't have any responsible bidders. It's an out clause, which is something that my office recommended, just to allow flexibility for the county. To the extent that you want to add an option of, maybe the county having an opportunity for people to, help them. That is a decision I'll leave to the county board and obviously this committee. But I would not recommend changing the out clause. Otherwise, you could find yourself in a tough spot.
But we could add to it.
Legally
base.
speaking, yes, I have no problem with you adding to it as long as it does not prevent you from having that out clause.
Mr. Chairman.
I understand.
Mr. Chair Gums.
Then I'll go to Madam Guns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a little note on the addition of number 3. I am reluctant to include that because I don't believe it is the onerous of the King County Board to walk people through things. I think, of course, we would encourage people to do that and kind of point them in the direction. However, I don't want our county board to be required to do so, if that makes sense. They're already, these programs are available for anybody. It's not union versus non-union. I mean, all of these things are available to everyone. And if you're a business owner of any kind, you should and could register for these. We could certainly direct people in that direction, but I don't think that we need to put that in writing. That's just my opinion.
I have state's attorneys. One more time.
One quick follow-up is, while the only concern I'll have in regards to essentially helping people is that you would effectively be possibly putting your thumb on the scale for people to make themselves better bidders. So it can be done, but it would have to be done in a very careful way such that you're not providing any help that would be beneficial to one that's not to another. If there's generic information that we could do like an FAQ for everyone, that I don't think we quite get into a problem. But if we go anything further than that, you're going to run into putting your thumb on the scale.
Okay, then okay, then Mr. Davis, did you have your hand up? No?
I just, to Mavis's point, I think it makes sense. It sounds like a separate program to me as opposed to language in this instrument. But
Right, and I'm not going to listen to you anymore. Because you're not on the committee. If you want Mr. Ford, if he understands what the subject is, you've commented the topic you want to.
This is Ford again. So I understand what Mavis is getting at, and it probably is a separate program. My thing is like the education part, the determination of what qualifies them education wise is kind of scary to me, for the fact that a guy, he or she could be a business for 20 years and done and very well qualified to do the job, but they don't meet these qualifications, then what determines that their education is not equal to? So I think the term equal to needs to be added in a few places.
Okay, we'll take that as a suggestion to do that. Any other comments from board members? Then I see Mr. Linder back there. Do you have your hand up?
Yes, please. Just a clarification on applicability. I know that this doesn't cover professional services. It says construction. What about these annual contracts that we award to like plumbers or HVAC people? Where are those people expected to be responsible bidders, or are they not included in this?
I'll have Mr. Fonstock.
So I think
Speak to
that the nature of this is public works construction. So depending on the degree of, if it's maintaining existing systems versus constructing something, that it would be new, something that's permitted, or something that we would be building new, is where this would kick in. Our general maintenance of facilities, probably not so much.
So then those annual contracts that we award
Yes.
are generally just maintenance. They're not.
Yeah, those are,
When we find out we need to replace a compressor, what happens there?
so those would go through one of our maintenance contractors, and then depending on the degree of planning and construction that's involved, they would go out to bid. If it's something that we have to do as a repair to existing systems, then they would be under maintenance contracts. So there is a difference between constructing a new, like, heat plant, for instance, which went out to bid as a, for purchasing boilers or purchasing a new, HVAC system for a new building. But in terms of maintaining an existing one, those would fall under our general maintenance service contracts.
Understood. Thank you.
Did that answer your
That
question?
was kind of differentiating between construction and maintenance, and we had that discussion in our meetings quite extensively, so.
Yeah, somebody has to put a washer and a faucet. That's definitely maintenance.
Yeah.
Start talking about replacing rooftop unit for HVAC. Then And I guess.
And I
we'll
think
fill
some
our
of
ways
that,
through that. Maybe eventually we can start talking about responsible bidders on those maintenance things, but that's down the road.
I think those get a lot of scrutiny when we're doing the bidding and we try to award it. A lot of it is we don't seem to get enough volume of responses to service what we have in 1 million square feet of building. So we're picking, 3 to 5 vendors now just to try and get enough people to support us. And I think some of that with the clause that we were talking about was if you get to a dead end and you don't have enough support from this, what would be your option to do something different? And we discussed an education program that, by the way, this is effective December 1st, I believe, is the effective date. And there was a discussion about how do we educate all of our vendors that this is the new kind of ordinance and what do they have to do to be compliant so that, we don't wake up December 1st and say, we can't use, X, Y, and Z, and they can't do this because they don't meet qualifications. All of these existing agreements will expire and there's things that we have to rebid. And when they're gonna, if they want to continue to do that business, they'll have to follow the new ordinance, which we fully support. We're fine with that. It's just, these are the rules. This is what you have to do. Right now, I think it is specific to construction. No, that's what
Okay,
we're
that's-
focusing on.
Just wanted to know where that line was drawn. Thank you.
To that point, that it doesn't come into effect until December 1st. We do have, even though we do pass this, if we were to pass this ordinance, we still would have time to amend it if there were items that you find that would be important to have in there, Mr. Ford and other members of the board, to amend it well before this was taking into effect, especially small changes, but maybe significant ones, like you're saying, the education or whatever else, Mr. State's Attorney.
And for purposes of that, if you want to come to my office, suggest changes, we will work with any and all members, committee members or board members that want to suggest changes. We can help framework the wording if you want to propose an amendment or if you even want to do it as part of this process.
So, Madam Chair.
And given that, since this is the first time this committee has had the opportunity to review this, and again, all suggestions are welcomed. This is a collaborative process and will remain so. Would be the goal that we would like to potentially have this passed at the August board meeting. So depending upon that level of conversation, we'd have to make sure that once again, we convene the whole team. If there's any suggestions from any of the board members to amend this, to make sure it's both legal and agreed upon by all other parties, because that's the way it's been working. So we'd like to get this passed hopefully in August. So if you have any thoughts about this, this is the first reading of it, and it'll then go to finance. And then it'll go up through exec. So there is time to make those adjusted changes.
So then the point would be to pass it here as is, and then it will go through the 3 other stages, finance, exec, and full board, which will be reviewed thoroughly by the time it gets through there. And then we additionally have time before it's enacted. It's not an instant change. We have time if there are significant additions or any additions that you think would be really important to have before this actually is enacted in December. So are there any other comments or questions? I would like to go to asking the question and passing it.
Forward again. So are we in a rush to get, because I just had 2 items from development just got kicked back twice to committee. So I don't see what is
Gunshot.
so the process right now to me is kind of gray with that part. That's supposed to be a partial joke, but if we hold it off here now to make sure we get those answered, then it goes through smoothly without making all the changes as it goes. I would like to get a chance to sit down with them and talk through them about some things. That's one thought that I have. Is that if we got to December, I understand that August would be nice, but August, September, right after that, still got time to get it through, yes. So as far as, like I said, I just had two items kicked back, one of them kicked back twice because we tried to move it along without making sure that things didn't get answered right away.
Was that a motion?
Me, yes,
What was the motion?
to hold it to our next meeting
To postpone
until
until the next meeting,
next development.
regular
Next
administration
administration meeting, yes,
committee meeting?
right.
Well, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Have a second.
Davis would second. Any discussion? I'm not excited about it.
I wasn't excited about mine.
I'm sure you're
either.
All right, then there's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion, any further discussion? This is to postpone this motion, this resolution until our next regularly scheduled meeting in August. Roll call, please.
Berman,
No.
Davis,
Yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, no.
Juby,
No.
Maybe no.
Caius.
Caius, no. Okay, so we're going to deal with it then today. Then I will go toward the question then, please. Whether we pass it or not. So let's vote on the original resolution.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Motion. Original motion. Excuse me.
Mr. Davis,
Voting on it as it's in our packet right now.
As it is in the pack right now.
Davis, no.
Ford,
Ford, no.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
It passes.
With qualifications. Here comes the state's attorney. Yes.
You should have listened.
And that was moved by,
That
Berman?
Was moved by Gums, seconded by Berman.
okay, so it was moved, motion second and passed. So the motion passes. Yeah, resolution, yes. Motion passes. Is there any new business or old business? That was the new business. May I have I would entertain a request to put the reports on file.
Ford moves, make
Without objection?
unanimous
Unanimous consent.
consent.
Yes. No objection? Reports, so be it. And no need for an executive session? Yes?
So we-
Oh, well,
we have
excuse
some
me.
Closed session minutes there. Let's do it.
Oh, okay. Then we will have executive, we have a motion and a second to move into closed session to address release of past closed session minutes. Motion moved by Berman, second by
Gums,
Poor Gums.
Davis. That was Davis. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Guys, yes. And then I thought we had a preponderance of state's attorneys here.
Hey, everybody online that's joining us in the closed session, please accept those invites. For those folks here in the room, you must also join the closed session. We will not be able to begin until everybody is together. I will let you know when we are effectively in the closed session. Up until that moment, be aware we are still live streaming. So please accept those invites. We'll get started shortly.
This is just one of those important.
Oh, that looked like a bottle of
One
Jack
for
Daniels
coffee,
in
it's
your
fine.
hand there, Henry.
I see only about one pot now.
You know, I really don't even, I'm not on the committee. I'm a board member. I can sit here, but rather the committee, I'm preparing to boogie.
Oh, I thought he's calling you out, but just to go into the, yeah.
Thank you.
Did you get that email?
I did, on the calendar.
Taking your wagon and going home, Vern? Oh, I've got,
Okay, you are in open session.
I'll take your garbage.
sitting there holding it.
Go barefoot, great.
Okay, we have roll call, please.
Berman,
Firm's here.
Davis,
Davis here.
Ford, Gums,
Gums here.
Young, Juby,
Good to be here.
Caius.
Vice President,
You have quorum?
we have a quorum. Then I would entertain a motion to vote on the release of the closed session minutes as in Exhibit A, moved by
So moved.
I just had a phone call. Davis, second by,
Davis, so moved.
You can't second your own. Juby.
I said I would entertain a motion.
No, he said Davis and then you said second and he said his name again.
Okay,
So I.
Juby second?
Second, yes.
thank you.
Welcome.
I started with just.
Motion and second. Any questions on this?
Just trying to add that.
Roll call, please.
Berman,
Seconding yourself.
That was not my.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Guys, yes. Motion passes. Then we have anybody, public comment, non-agenda items? Online, in person, hearing none, seeing none. Motion, oh, certainly, Mr. Ford. That's all right.
I can't hear anything.
He's talking about baseball.
Oh,
He got rained out. We all got rained out. Sorry. Okay, I guess that was kind of public comment. Thanks, Ron. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Also, I'm gonna make the motion, unanimous motion to adjourn.
Again, I'm unanimous on that one, but I'll take a second.
Davis seconds.
Davis, and then all in favor? Aye. We can do a voice vote. Now you can't talk.